Can you please introduce yourself and give us a brief glimpse of the kind of study that you are doing?
Okay, my name is Professor Omry Barzilai. I'm from the University of Haifa. I'm the head of the Material Culture Paleo Lab, and I'm a PI, co-PI in a project called Last Neanderthal. It's an ERC Synergy grant in which we study and try to figure out what were the reasons that caused the extinction of the Neanderthals in Eurasia at around 50 to 40,000 years. So the entire project is based on synergy. Synergy means like we are combining a lot of methodological approaches into one project. We are actually built up from three major laboratories. One of them is my laboratory, the Material Culture Paleo Lab, that specializes in analyzing material cultural remains such as lithic artifacts, such as bone tools, such as ornament made from shells and from other things. There's another lab. Now they're specializing in identifying human remains using multi-proxy methods, for example, ancient DNA, doing histological studies, geometric, morphometric, and so forth, led by my colleague, Professor Stefano Benazzi. And there's another lab, Siena, University of Siena, headed by Professor Francesco Berna, my other co-PI, who is in charge for the reconstruction of the paleoenvironmental conditions that were happening in the same areas that we're studying. They're doing phytolith studies, they're doing environmental reconstructions based on tephra analysis, pollen analysis, and many more aspects. So basically, our approach is like when you dive into one region like this, you don't just go solo, an archaeologist with your equipment, and okay, analyze the lithics and provide an answer. It's not enough. We need to have the biologists coming in with us, studying the human remains, if there are, the animal remains. We have to have the paleoenvironmental people, and then we tackle the same question on the same sites, a lot of people, and then obtaining those results and then discussing them together. And at some point, hopefully we'll come up with some, we'll say, reasonable solution, reasonable interpretations for the data that we're extracting from those archaeological excavations.
Like, do you get any clues for any behavioral patterns that these people may have depicted?
Of course we do. Of course we do. This is the basic foundation of archaeology and material culture study. I mean, like trying to define, it's like, of course, collect the data, but then define the technological, typological, use-wear traits, raw material exploitations, and so forth. I mean, like, what we're trying to do is to characterize any given assemblage or any given material cultural assemblage at a site, build up, this data, and then being able to compare it with a neighboring site and to the other neighboring site. And at some point, we're expecting to have some kind of like a recognition of identifying material cultural patterns that could be identified through time, whether like, early or late, or through space, east, west, north, south. So this is the rationale, this is how we think, and we hope that we will get again some results. Actually, we are getting right now some preliminary results in some areas that we work in Central and Eastern Europe. And it is really fantastic to be able to look at things, from the top view of a bird rather than just from from the top point of the ground as an archaeologist that is just excavating and pulling out the material.
Give me this word, the last Neanderthal. And it brought me to a very interesting part of it, that no parts in India has been identified in, as a field for these. So do you see a potential for India to be where Neanderthals, some sediments can be found out?
That's a very interesting question. And as you can see, I'm right now in India. So I think that you would figure out that the answer is yes. We think that there is a potential for understanding what happened to the Neanderthals. I don't know if Neanderthals ever made it to India, but for surely we presume that India does influence the neighboring regions. And we know that Neanderthals lived in the Zagros Mountains, for example. We know that Neanderthals lived in Central Asia. They lived in the Middle East. So we are also confident that we can also retrieve Neanderthal remains in areas that are located in southern regions, like areas that do have kind of like a warm weather. Again, Middle East is pretty warm, India is warm, so why not? And if you never try, you never know.
Oh, great. So good to know that India can be one of these areas where you can find something. So what kind of future do you see for this kind of research, and what can be the output? What kind of understanding we would have, like the kind of work that you are doing?
Well, I think that such a research would, first of all, it will add to the ongoing research that is happening right now in India, which is fantastic. I was just attending a 4-day symposium, and I heard so much about the industries of 60, 40,000 years ago. For example, the microblade industries that are dated up to 48,000 in Sri Lanka, for example. I heard that Levallois technology continued up to 30,000 years ago. I also heard a talk about something that might look like initial Upper Paleolithic from the Levant. So things are happening, and a lot is being studied right now in India. So we will just add another small piece to the big puzzle, and as you can see, there's a big puzzle here.
Yeah.
So we will just contribute to whatever is going on here, and hopefully we will get some positive results and add more to the, to the history of research, history of humankind in South Asia.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really interesting talking to you. And I hope that we can also catch up when you come to India later on for any of these field studies.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure.
Thank you.